So I'm going to end with a personal sort of experience of the arts and environment coming together, which will mean that we can hand on to Liv, hopefully seamlessly, although you might want to introduce her. So we organised this annual conference for our members, and last year we decided to invite the hot poets along to our conference, and we put, I don't know if it was an hour or an hour and a half on the programme. And in the morning we did a field visit to a farm, Martin Lyne's farm. He's the farmer that started the nature-friendly farming network, and Liv and some of the other poets went along to that visit. And then the session in the afternoon, I don't know how they had done this, but they had written this incredible poem about the visit that morning and Martin and how amazing he was and the incredible work that had happened. And then we collectively wrote some poetry and you did some performance, and it was amazing. And people came up to me afterwards, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Liv, and said they saw poetry on the agenda and they were like, oh God, poetry. And they said it was one of the best sessions they have ever been to at any of our retreats, because it just connected us with our emotions, and it made us sort of remember why we were doing the work. I mean, I was quite emotional several times during that session, and that's exactly what it was all about. So, passing on to Liv.
I'm not sure I can do a better introduction than that, but I do want to just say that Liv actually co-founded Hot Poets with Chris, who's standing at the back, Chris Redmond, and that it's an award-winning spoken word artists. I think it's very important that we actually, obviously, these artists have been working on We Feed the UK, but I think it's really important that we actually just imagine a world in which spoken word isn't creative and then think, why do we need poets? So let me hand over to Liv.
Oh, do I have to do that? Hello. It's really interesting that you're talking about the future stuff as well, because, and I'll get to that in a second, but Hot Poets started we tried to start before lockdown and failed, and after lockdown we started in 2020, but it began in a muddy field in Glastonbury, and me and Chris were watching a very successful poet with a huge audience do a really depressing dystopian doom poetry about climate change, and they used the immortal words, "I'm dead and every part of me knows it," and the whole audience kind of went, and me and Chris were like, perhaps we should maybe, as artists, possibly try an alternative approach. So it sort of began there, and we had, at the time had an amazing woman called Mikhail Nachmani, who worked in the London School of Economics, and she was in charge of the world database for the most polluting companies. And Chris had met her at a Tung Fu gig, and her job, so she would sort of encourage shareholders to sort of think about how they invested in fossil fuels and whether to actually turn their investments over to renewables. And Chris asked how it was going, and she said, better than we ever thought possible. And it was like, oh, we're not getting that story. We're getting the "we're dead and every part of me knows it" story. We're not getting the other stories. And as artists, we so often come from a place of protest, which is really great and important, and protest is really important. But what about if we came from a different place? What about if we found these people doing this amazing work all over the world, because there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them, and try to highlight their stories and give them attention and help them, empower them up, because there's, they're heroes, amazing people. So we made a collection of 10 poems, which we took to COP26, and we had the Met Office and the London School of Economics. And I tell you, I personally believe if you want the arts to be successful, partnership working with those organisations, because you have to instantly get over that prejudice of, oh, poetry's not for me, or poetry's not serious. But if you say poetry with the London School of Economics, people go, oh, maybe it is serious then. So you kind of give yourself credibility in that way. And we had some amazing partners, and we ended up at COP26 where we met the UN, a part of the UN called the Resilience Frontiers, who deal with futures and imagining better futures. And they have 8 pathways. And they like what we did so much, they took us to Botswana Adaptation Week, where we were involved in helping develop and look at these futures with amazing people from all over the world. And we've just finished a project all about futures and imagining them, and getting participants, thousands of people, to write haikus about different futures. I've got some cards here, and I'm going to deliver them to you as tarot cards, so you can get your haiku future in a bit as well. And then I'm here today because we have had the real privilege of working with We Feed the UK on incredible project about regenerative farming. And weirdly, it kind of linked in our project with the UN. One of their pathways to a better future is regenerative farming. That is one of the things they say has to happen. And I went to them quite naively before this project. And after speaking to Martin quite a lot, and I said, I think it's regenerative farming. I think that's the thing that's going to do it. And they were like, yeah, pretty much. That is the most important thing that we can do. So this isn't a side project. This isn't a side quest. Because of the amount of land managed globally by farmers, the power of farmers to actually change biodiversity loss and climate change is colossal. So if we can support farmers in any way by elevating their stories, then we are doing an incredible service for this movement. So it's being a bridge as artists, not standing on the side, but actually getting involved, finding the people doing the work and seeing how we can help. And that is where we found ourselves with Hot Poets. So we're launching 10 poems today with Refeed the UK, each one with an amazing artist. We've got Scotland, Ireland, Wales, we've got all the regions, and they've all been gone live online today as well. And you can see them on the videos, and all the poets, all 10 of the poets are here to perform them, so it's really exciting. But yeah, I genuinely believe that arts can play a role, and it's already happening. People are already doing it everywhere. They're talking about it at COPs. We were in Sharm el-Sheikh and in Dubai, and everyone is talking about the future, revisioning the future. How do we do it? They just got to get over that gap of realising they need to actually bring artists in to help them, and that's what we're trying to do. So, yeah, thank you.